Hey everyone, Pugs here with two new reviews for y'all. Today I'm covering Buried in Time and Enchanted Tiki Dreams. These are a couple of episodes that I just really strongly associate with Season 7, and I don't know, there's some kind of nostalgia that's present with these episodes too. I'm not sure if that's the right term. Like, when I watch them, I think of the past, but it's not as strong as the word nostalgia implies. But I guess it's the word I've got, so I'll just tentatively call these nostalgic episodes. I suppose that fits with me feeling like they're very season 7 episodes anyway. Okay, well, anyway, another connecting thread between these two episodes is that they also feature the Conch Street Trio, so that's fun. Alright, I've been yapping too much. Let me just get to what y'all have been waiting for. But real quick, before I do that, I of course gotta say that, as always, thank you for watching. And now, let's just get right into it. You know, it's kind of funny that Buried in Time is about a time capsule, given how this episode almost feels like a time capsule in and of itself, given what I've already said about it feeling just like so much like the season 7 episode it is, and carrying a faint air of nostalgia with it too. Unfortunately, like a time capsule, this episode has kind of been buried and forgotten about, as I never really see it brought up in any way, like at all. Do you think I can give an episode points for its reception mirroring the thing that it is about? Anyway, getting into things now. I like how the beginning of Buried in Time had lots of little tidbits for me, the known overanalyzer and eagle-eyed viewer, to chew on. Particularly with the shot of Mr. Krabs reading the label on the giant can of tartar sauce, since there's actually things that we can read here rather than just unintelligible scribbles like is normally done with a shot like this. Like, apparently this can has been in the Krusty Krab for 50 years, which means that the Krusty Krab has likely been open for around 50 years. And also, the Best Buy date for the can said May 1st, which, as many here know, is the date of the first episode of SpongeBob SquarePants that premiered, so that's a nice Easter egg. And lastly, the serving size for this tartar sauce is 1 dollop, and apparently there are 1 million servings in the can, meaning that there have been at least 1 million Krabby Patties served, probably more. This also means that this episode must take place after Clams, in which Mr. Krabs achieved his millionth dollar. Man, I sound like one of my Twitter mutuals right now, trying to iron out a SpongeBob SquarePants timeline. I'll move on now. So, as you can see, I really love that this episode included all of these little details. Well, I also love how this episode shows that Mr. Krabs is a very good businessman, generally, though, as I've said before, he has his facepalm moments. Turning his old can of tartar sauce into a time capsule is a brilliant and creative marketing move. Also, Mr. Krabs' souvenir selling here is exactly what it's like buying merch at concerts. But you see, I actually want to support the artists I go and see, so unless I'm going to the concert of a really, really big artist, which is rare, I always buy the merch and leave a tip. Huh, that reminds me, I'm gonna go to the concert soon. Exciting. Being a metal fan is a blessing and a curse because the concerts are so fun, but you're surrounded by people who have never heard of deodorant and white people with Grinch fingers in their hair. Anyway, Squidward is such an asshole in this episode, but it's hilarious, so I don't mind. In fact, I like when Squidward is an asshole because it's usually funny. The way he mocks that lady here is hilarious, like he is such a dick. I'm glad that that lady was unfazed by his efforts, though, because it's funnier that way and reminds me of the way that I respond to people being jackasses. I mean, it's also funny when people beat Squidward up, so I would have been fine either way. The way Squidward appoints himself as the decider of what people 50 years from now get to unearth is so very him, being the self-proclaimed cultured individual that he believes he is. We love in-character writing. We then get the introductions of Patrick and Plankton in this episode. Patrick, SpongeBob, and Squidward get stuck at the time capsule, bringing to mind wishing you well, and Plankton decides to use this chance to get the formula because, apparently, Mr. Krabs put a copy of the formula in the time capsule for some reason. I also love how we see Mr. Krabs put the formula in the time capsule and apparently not notice SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward. It's such a quick joke and it works great. And of course, Squidward is the only one to be stressed out by their situation. You know, it's kind of funny that this episode is so soon after that sinking feeling, given the significance of being underground in this episode. It's fun to watch SpongeBob and Patrick figure out how they're going to spend the next 50 years of their time. The Twister parody is cute too. As for Plankton, to be honest, he was kind of unnecessary in this episode, like we could have done without him, though I guess this isn't too problematic for this episode given that he feels more like a side plot than a real focus. Moving on, I also adored that this episode referenced SB129 by having all of Bikini Bottom be Chrome in SpongeBob's fantasy of the future. Now that is what we call a good Easter egg for the fans of the show. And before anyone even gets close to thinking that this is some kind of diss on later seasons, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that this is a really good Easter egg. Anyway, these daydreams of what the future might be like are fun, and definitely showcase a lot about our characters here, which I love. Character-driven writing, what's not to love? Finally, the SpongeBob Patrick Squidward plot intersects with Plankton's little side plot, which is what leads to their freedom, as Plankton manages to bore a hole through the time capsule, which allows everyone to escape. Squidward's assumption that they all aged 50 years after he resurfaces is hilarious to watch, and definitely not something I expected out of the episode, so this is a pleasant surprise. I love when Squidward has his moments of delusion like this because they are always so funny. And the ending of this episode is great. I love how for once Plankton actually gets the formula, but he's limited by his own biology in the end. I wonder what ended up happening with that. Maybe it's better that I don't know. And speaking of this last little scene, everybody say goodbye to Chief Taravana because this is the last time we hear this song in the show. Buried in Time was a perfectly fine episode, I'd say. Nothing too great about it, but nothing bad either. It was a perfectly normal, average episode. Well, maybe that's not the best choice of words, unless we consider that this show's average is really fucking good. So basically what I'm saying is that this episode is a good fit for the great tier, where it comes in with a score of 8.3 out of 10. Enchanted Tiki Dreams is a very interesting Season 7 episode from a fandom perspective, because it's a Squidward episode that was actually liked a lot. Popular opinion posited that this episode was an oasis in the desert of Squidward torture that was Squidward-focused episodes in this era of the show. Considering that I don't believe that Squidward torture is even a problem in the way that others do, or maybe did, I am not quite sure that this oasis thing is true, and I guess that's what we're going to be finding out today. The beginning of this episode is very me-core. Leaving my house has got to be the worst part of the day sometimes, because my home is my sanctuary, one that I never want to leave. Yes, I know that sounds really bad, but I mean, it's just the truth. Anyway, this wouldn't be an episode about Squidward having a miserable life if some bullshit didn't start the moment he walked out of the door. I think this little bit of the episode is fine, like, it's enjoyable enough at least, not particularly funny or anything, but then again, this entire episode is not exactly what I'd call a barrel of laughs. SpongeBob and Patrick's laughter and screaming can nearly become grating at times, so that's a bit of a drag. Eventually, after an excruciating day at work, Squidward runs out of the Krusty Krab as soon as his shift ends, which is also quite relatable, and he returns straight to his sanctuary, aka his house. And that is also relatable, as I've said. Squidward's little daydream here about how to spend his me time, it makes me realize that I should find some more hobbies that don't involve technology or social media, because I'm tired of staring at my computer or phone all day. I mean, I do have some. I like going to parks or playing solitaire, when I use physical cards and not an app, or reading, but yeah, I have just as many hobbies that involve technology, and I don't like that. Anyway. Squidward finding comfort in being at home is exactly how we just know that something bad is going to happen to his poor house. It's just a rule of comedy. And unsurprisingly, Squidward's house is disturbed, though I will say I am surprised that his house is intact at the end of all of this. The bit with the electric eel, both parts I suppose, is pretty funny, though the part with Squidward completely flipping out is a little hard to watch, especially once we see the aftermath with him actually crying, which is kinda sad to be honest. This episode does a great job at making you feel bad for Squidward here, which isn't necessarily a hard thing to do. Just don't make him a huge asshole who brings his misery onto himself, and usually it works just fine. Now, the only thing that SpongeBob and Patrick have done wrong in this episode so far is get Squidward stung by an electric eel, and this is good, because if they keep doing wrong by Squidward, that would get annoying. But instead, while everything else that happens to Squidward is annoying in its way, it technically is not their fault. Like, with them being super loud in public, sure, I'd never be so loud in public, but it's not really their fault if no one tells them to quiet down. Kind of. Okay, I'm overthinking, let me move on. But speaking of SpongeBob and Patrick, I really love how wholesome they are in this episode, creating this entire relaxation oasis for Squidward. It's just really nice of them to do this, even if they don't quite realize that the reason Squidward's life is so unrelaxing is largely because of them. But like I said before, they aren't like maliciously oblivious, and this is important to their characters, as I've said, like months and months on end. maybe even years at this point. Man, I've been doing this for kind of a long time. Okay, whatever. Let me not think about that right now. Anyway, so this part of the episode, with Squidward going through the eponymous Tiki land, has the relaxation vibes down with the music and the great visuals. Like, now I want to do like a spa day or something. Well, my version of a spa day. I can think of 3 different reasons why I don't want to go to a spa, and I'm sure I can come up with more. Of course, all good things must come to an end for poor Squidward here, though not quite yet. Patrick ends up accidentally destroying the tropical paradise, but Squidward is able to continue his happy moment by hitting SpongeBob and Patrick with his swinging boat. And you know what? Good for him. I like that this show has Squidward win every so often. It feels like a reward of some kind, although watching him lose can be just as rewarding. So, Enchanted Tiki Dreams is another one of those episodes that has a weak beginning that transitions into a strong finish, and this makes it one of those episodes that's kind of difficult for me to rate. I think the strong ending really influences how I see this episode, though. Maybe I'm just an optimist. And the rarity of seeing Squidward win like this, because of the machinations of SpongeBob and Patrick, is always a treat to see. So I'd say that this episode fits nicely in my great tier, where it comes in with a score of 8.4 out of 10. As always, I'll be ending this video with some closing thoughts of mine. What to say? What to say? I feel like I've been very tired this week, so I feel rather uninspired. Is this me insinuating that there might be a brief break in videos soon? Potentially, but I endeavor to keep my weekly schedule up. Grad school is just very weird. I mean, it's summertime, and here I am still taking classes and having a job and having an internship. I feel like I'm doing part-time everything. It's odd. But anyway, I'm not going to bore y'all with the details of that. Instead, what I am going to bore y'all with is the details of that since I've gained so many subscribers since publishing the Arcane video, I've been thinking about doing another subscriber special. Nothing has been set in stone yet, but I was thinking maybe another Q&A would be in order. I don't have a plethora of options for subscriber specials, since going live would be difficult, and I don't exactly make content in a way that lends itself to making a special subscriber video. I have another idea, which is a video about a special topic, perhaps one chosen by the people, but I'm not sure. Ugh, this is hard. But I kind of imagine that this would either be a 3K subscriber special, or maybe something that happens after I finish Season 7. I feel like the latter will come first. Maybe it'll be an in advance special. Okay, I'll stop boring y'all with my literal brainstorming. Clearly I've got nothing of actual substance to say, so I'll go ahead and close things out here, and I'll see y'all in the next review.